Let's have prayer before we start. Dear Heavenly Father, in this world we face many challenges. Many of us are stubborn. We want to do things our own way. But today I would ask that as we hear my story, that we may be motivated and encouraged to hold on to you, to know that you can give us strength to overcome the devil's temptations. Help us to remain strong to you, because we want to leave this room someday and sit around in heaven and talk up there and have you there as our speaker. So guide us today, we pray in thy name. Amen. Have you ever asked the question, what are my choices? You want a piece of pie? Well, what are my choices? Well, we have apple, cherry, pumpkin, pecan. Just give me a piece. Just give me a piece. After all, it's just pie. I prefer the cherry, but pie is pie, right? You want to get married? Just give me one. Oh, wait. Did you say married? Then you may want to take a little longer in making your choice. Some choices that we have to make have more consequences than just a piece of pie. I was raised in a good Adventist family. Went to church every week, from the little cradle roll strapped in the seat all the way through. Went to church school, went to Pathfinders, and my parents said that I was a Seventh-day Adventist. I do not like being told what to do. Who are they to tell me that I'm a Seventh-day Adventist? They might be wrong. In fact, at that age, I knew my parents were probably wrong. And it came time at a young age where they send you off to boarding school. And I was excited, because I will get out of the house. Little did I know that it's more of a jail out there, boarding school, than at the home. But I was excited. My friends and us, we were all expecting to go to Columbia Academy. And Columbia Academy had an open house where they had a special registration. They invited students to come up, spend the night in the dorm, get to see what the school is like. Well, we were excited to get up there. And now, I must tell you, the friends that I seem to be drawn to are a little bit, sometimes the rowdier group, not the real religious kids. I will admit that in front of you. We get up there to the open house, and it was an interesting night, an interesting time up there. Somehow, they had a big registration booth, and it somehow got placed over the principal's little Volkswagen. I cannot tell you how that happened. Things like that. In my friend that was in Academy, we stayed in his room. He pulls out his drawer, and it's full of Hostess pies, which I love, and those little, those little snowballs that you can skin them. It was packed with that. He said, we have all we want. The little store down the street, the guy that's in there is real dumb. And somebody can talk to him, and you can walk out with anything you want out of that store. And it was packed. I went home from that time, and I thought, I'm not sure that that's the way I want to go. I had to make a choice. Deuteronomy says, oh, that their hearts would be inclined to fear me and keep all my commandments always, that it might go well with them. Job 36:11, if they obey and serve him, they will spend the rest of their days in prosperity. And then John 13:17 says, now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. You see, I knew these things that God wanted us to do. Now, back in those days, I feared God, meaning I was scared of God. I knew these things, and I knew all these stories in the Old Testament where they didn't serve God and they got what's coming to them. I didn't want that in my life. I wanted to have a little better life than that, so I didn't serve God out of love, but I feared God. One other motivating influence. There was a wise son brings joy to his father, but a foolish son grief to his mother. I didn't like it when I'd go by the bedroom door and hear my mom crying in there because Vern did something wrong again. We don't like to hurt our mothers. That was, I think, a motivating factor. So all my friends, we were going to Columbia Academy at the last minute. Nobody knew it, but I switched to Laurelwood. To get away from my friends, I went to Laurelwood and found a bunch of other rowdy friends that I was able to make friends with. But we got through it. I was a good kid, just a little rowdier than some of them. As a side note, it's interesting that all my rowdy friends, I think all of my rowdy friends today are elders in the church. The good kids, the religious kids that I went to school with, they're not around the church anymore. They're out of the church. I don't know what that tells you. It doesn't tell you, go out, kids, and be rowdy. But that's kind of what happened. I went to Portland State University and graduated with the Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. Now that means I know everything about business, and I'm not a master of anything. But they told me that the accountant can't pull the wool over my eyes, but I'm not an accountant. I'm not a marketing guy, but I know a little bit about it. I know a little bit about all the business, but I'm not a master, really, of anything. So I never knew what I wanted to do when I grew up. But I graduated, I needed a job. So in those days, they had these things called newspapers that were big, and they opened up and they had sections in there, the employment section. And they had a section there categorized by administration, accountants, all these things. I thought maybe I'd want to get into medical business, and I'd maybe get into hospital administration. So I looked under administration. And there, right in the middle of all the administration ads, it said pharmaceutical sales. Come down to out here at the airport roadway to the hotel. They were going to give personality test and IQ test. Free of charge. Hey, that sounds kind of interesting. I don't want to be a pharmaceutical salesman, but I want to go down and take the test. That'll be fun. I had no idea why pharmaceutical sales were there in administration. They should be down in the sales section. So I show up down there on Sunday afternoon. There are over 300 people there, long tables. And they passed out these IQ tests. Then they said, wait around for 15 minutes, and we're going to call back those that we'd like to have stay. The rest of you, thank you for coming. In a few minutes, they had tabulated everything, and they read 30 names. And they read my name. And they said, we'd like you to stay and take the personality test. Oh, that'll be fun. So there was 30 of us there then at a little table to take this personality test. Well, I remember one question on there that I had to stop and I had to think about for a long time. And it challenged me. You see, I didn't care about this position, but I don't like to lose either. So I don't want to be rejected. I want to answer this question so that they may want me, even if I don't want them. So the question, you are driving alone out on a long, lonely desert road, do you keep following the speed limit? Or you to go a little bit faster? Or how fast will this thing go? I didn't know what to put down. This is a pharmaceutical sales, handling controlled drugs. They probably want to trust somebody, even if nobody's around. They want to trust you that you're going to be following the speed limit. Oh, wait. Maybe they want somebody that's go get them. So maybe I should. No, I shouldn't. I don't know. Ethical. What do you put down? What is the answer they're looking for? A little voice in my head said, Vern, you're a Christian. You know what is right. You must be honest. Just answer the questions honestly. So I marked down, how fast will this thing go? Well, after that, they said there was 12 of us, that if we wanted to know more about the position, they could arrange an interview with us, and they would then go over what the position entails, and they would interview us. If you want your name in the hat. So I said, sure, go ahead and throw my name in the hat. So they had us fill out, in pharmaceutical sales, they look all background checks and things, and we had to fill out all our financial information. The next day, I meet the man at the hotel. It's a little suite. And we sit down, and the first thing he says is, well, Vern, first of all, I was looking over your financial report here. You don't make very much money. And yet I noticed that you pay 10% of your income to tithe. How could that be possible? I said, well, you see, my wife and I, when we got married, we said we want to go into partnership with God. God's our partner. So when I get my paycheck, I just give God what is his, and then we take care of the rest. He thought about that. Interesting. That's interesting. He says, I make a whole lot more money than that. I couldn't do that. I couldn't afford to do that. He said, I find that very interesting. So he says, now, they go on with the interview. He said, oh, one other thing. I see on here, too, that you put down here that you can't work on Saturday. That Saturday is your Sabbath. I said, that's right. And he said, look, that is no problem. That is no problem because all the doctor's offices are closed on Saturday. You don't have to work on Saturday. Except 4 times a year we fly into some place and we all meet together and we have a sales meeting on Saturday and Sunday. The weekend. We have sales contests. The material is presented. The new drug information is presented to you on Saturday. You would not be able to compete with the other salesmen if you don't get that information. It would be to your disadvantage. But that's only 4 times a year, so I don't see any problem. I said, well, I do, because I don't work on Saturday. I wouldn't be able to do that. And he said, you know, I'm very sorry, but but this would require that. And I said, well, thank you. I appreciate talking to you. I shook his hand. I walked to the door. I closed the door. And the thoughts going through my head is this the way my life is going to be? Because I chose to follow God? Am I ever going to get a job when I can't work on Saturday? And I walked down the hall. I just got about halfway down the hall. The door opened up and he said, Vern, excuse me, could you come back here a minute? He says, I apologize. That was so rude of me. You came here as a young man to interview. You need the experience of interviewing. For any other jobs that you have to interview for, you need the experience, and that was rude of me just to tell you to leave. So he says, let's go through and continue the interview if you want. I said, yes, I would like that experience. So he told me, look, we're going to do a little role playing here. You're going to have to sell something. I've never sold anything in my life. I'm not a salesman. Say, I don't want to sell. So he says, it's my wife's 40th anniversary. You're a shop owner in France with a little, it's antiques and paintings and artwork and things. And you're going to need to sell me that. Now, you can go off into the kitchen and just let me know when you're prepared to come out. I said, okay. I walked it's just a few steps over to the kitchen. And it's going through my mind, I have no idea what to do. And as soon as I walk into the kitchen, I thought, look, I could look really stupid here. I could sit in here for 10, 15 minutes and then come out and look like an idiot. Maybe it's better to look like a fast idiot than a slow idiot. So I just walked into the kitchen. I turned around and says, I'm ready. He says, oh, really? I says, yes. I come out and he shakes my hand and says, oh, hello, he says. And I says, hello, I'm the owner of welcome you to my shop. He said, it's my wife's and mine 40th wedding anniversary. It's the 40th. It's very special. I have to have something very unique. I don't know what to get. I said to him, well, tell me a little about your wife. Is your wife beautiful? Oh, yes, she's very beautiful. I said, do you love her? Oh, yes. I love her more today than I did 40 years ago. I said, well, I can see that you love your wife, that it's got to be unique. We got to find something that will make a statement of your sentiment to your wife when you present that to her on her anniversary. And I know exactly what will say that. Please come with me. Took him to the back. See this painting? At first glance, you think it's absolutely beautiful, right? Yes, it's beautiful. Just like your wife. But I said, step closer. Look deeper into it. The more you know about this painting and go through this painting, it will become even more and more beautiful, just like your wife has become more beautiful as the years have progressed. This painting was created by an artist who loved nature. He spent actually months up in the Alps. He would climb up into the Alps where there were some beautiful fields of yellow flowers, and he would collect these flowers. He found some blue flowers, and then high up in the Alpines, there were the red flowers that he collected. He dug into the earth, and he would extract some of these golden yellow clay. And he found some areas that had these red clay in them. He would take all this and he had to experiment to get the right colors. And he'd make notes, and sometimes he'd have to throw it away and make new notes to get and experiment and practice till he got just the right colors. You can see the beauty coming out, the vibrance of these colors. And when the painting was completely finished, he took the leftover paint and he threw it all away. He destroyed all his notes. Sir, this painting is so unique, you have to be very careful. Protect this painting because it is irreplaceable. No, the paint can never be retouched. You have to take care of it. If it's gone, you've lost it. Sir, you love your wife. She is irreplaceable. You have to take care of her. She is precious. And treat her with the respect. That's what this painting is saying. Is that the way you feel about your wife? He said, yes. I said, this painting has to be handled properly. I will take this painting myself and deliver it to your house to make sure it is set up right. Do you want it a couple days before your anniversary? Do you want it delivered on the day of your anniversary? Oh, if you could deliver it, that'd be wonderful on the day of my anniversary. And so he said, Vern, I've got a little extra time. This is my first time to come to Portland. Do you know some place in Portland that we could go up high where we could see the city? Would you be willing to take me around the city a little bit? He said, I got more time before the next interview. Well, yes, I could do that. I said, not too far over here to Mount Tabor. We can go up to Mount Tabor and we can look out over the city. We drove up there, we stopped, we got out on a grassy knoll, we looked out over the city. He said, that's beautiful. Then he turned to me and he said, Vern, we would like to have you in our company. If you would accept the position, we want you. Said, I want you to know your God has done a miracle for you. The ad in the Oregonian was in the wrong place, and we are fighting with the Oregonian to get our money back because it should have been in the sales section, not the administration section. He said, we have this meeting all set up, the big room at the hotel arranged, everything set up ahead of time. We had the ad in the paper. The personnel director was coming out here to do the interviewing, and at the last minute he got sick. So I had to come out. And he said, I don't know how they're going to work out the Sabbath arrangements, but I know that they will work it out. Because you see, I'm the president of the company. I have never done an interview. But your God did a miracle. Pulled some strings to help you out. And so, to me, that's something that I hang on to all my life. God did a miracle for me. There was a purpose there. He told me he loves God. He believes in God. He knows God. But he said, I have to work on Sundays. Sundays is very sacred to me. But I have to work on Sundays, so I don't have time for God. Well, that's his choice, isn't it? The company, it's another whole long story, but we had a unique way of sales that they found out was a little illegal. And so we got shut down. And they called me up with this big sales number they wanted me to do, and I said, it's not going to happen. I know every medicine cabinet in the state of Oregon, and they are stuffed with my stuff. And they don't need the stuff unless I have this unique way of selling. So they called, the guy said, oh, you can do it. Go get him, Vern. You can do it. So he hung up. He called me back 5 minutes later, and he says, oh, I just called the main office, and they said, Vern, you're right. So you're fired. They didn't replace me. They said, we're going to shut Oregon down. And the company floundered. It was a fairly small company that I had started with, and they started floundering. The president who hired me that didn't have time for God because he was busy, I think is now in jail. Because they did, and not when I was around, but they started selling some injectable vitamin E to neonatal clinics, and babies were dying. And they knew it. And I think the vice president and the president, I think, spent some time in jail because of that. That always impressed me. This man didn't have time for God and talked to me at that day. I made an impression on him, but evidently he still didn't have time for God and was pulling strings. And so you have to make a choice as to, are you going to serve God Or are you going to take care of business the way you think it needs to be taken care of? Going back to what I said, I didn't want to be told what to do. I was scared of God. A few years ago, it was presented to me, the 1888 message. And I found out about the love of God, righteousness by faith. And now I love God. And I'm not afraid of God anymore. So I don't want to stop this story and make you think that I was afraid of God. Nobody should be afraid of God. I fear God now out of respect, but not out of scaredness. Study and learn more about God. Make the right choice. It's much more important than what pie you're going to eat. This is a choice you need to think about and then make a wise choice. One of my favorite texts is from the Joshua, where he says, I don't know about you, but me and my family, we will serve the Lord. I hope that is your commitment as well.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Vern. Thank you so much for reminding us that no matter how rowdier we become or how much we want to choose our own way, if we just choose to follow God's ways and to love Him, He will make miracles for us. Thank you so much for that. And we will be collecting our love offering.